man, I got a homeboy that's 45, and I don't mean to disparage him or speak ill of him. He knows how I feel about hip-hop, modern-day hip-hop, right? But he's 45, and, you know, we live in an era where people who are in their 40s and 50s and even 60s have grown up with hip-hop. You know, they encountered it as a child, and they just continue to absorb the culture and live with it until their adulthood and senior citizenhood, right? So my homeboy is 45, and he's always he's the kind of guy that likes to keep up with the trends and stuff like that. And deep down inside, I know that he really doesn't like the new music, but he deals with it because our black culture is set up so that it's always about the next thing. It's always about the next fad. It's always about the next trend. You know, if you resist the trend and you resist what's happening now, you'll be considered a lame. You'll be considered old. You'll be considered irrelevant. And that's the kind of culture we're used to in the black community. You know, it's cool to not know your elders. You know, it's cool to not know the historical people who are responsible for where we are today, whether you're talking about the elders of hip-hop, the elders of the civil rights movement, the elders of the abolitionist movement, you know, black inventors, black people who have done innovative things. It's cool to not know who they are, and it's cool to know who a young rapper is who's all about murdering black people, all about gangbanging. It's cool to keep up with that. It's cool to have encyclopedic mind when it comes to the stupid stuff. The people who don't contribute to our culture, the people who basically promote genocide. It's cool to know who those people are, and it's cool to keep tabs on them. But it's not cool to go back in the past and respect what was there first before we got here. And that's the kind of culture that produces a person like my friend who's 45, and he's forcing himself to like this music. I go into that, like, he was in his car one day, right, just sitting there with the AC on, and I'm looking at him. I'm outside the car, sitting on a doorstep, watching him, right, and I open the passenger side door and go inside the car, and all I hear is a song that's like, yeah, 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 I'm getting the money, I'm killing these niggas, I'm getting the money, I'm killing these niggas, yeah, 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 and I'm just sitting there like, oh my God, man, black people, we are doomed. And he's sitting there like, and I'm like, yo, we are doomed. We are so doomed. Until we get to a point where we fight against these trends, it's like, well, you don't have to follow trends, man. Just because the whole world is doing something, every other black person is doing something, doesn't mean you have to do it too, you know? And I think that these trends and these fads and what's happening now and the new stuff is dominating our psyche to the point where we're like slaves to the culture, you know? We're slaves, cultural slaves. You know, culture is supposed to be about freedom, not about enslavement, and we are intentionally enslaving ourselves, handcuffing ourselves to these trends. And whatever the new trend is, as time rolls on and the trends roll on, we're just following along, chained up, being taken for the ride. Please, man, do better.